not even sure I need the mic. I don't think I'm going to use the mic. How y'all doing? Good. You've only been here for about 5 to 6 hours, so you still got a little bit more. My thing is going to be about 2.5 hours. I'm going to start with my parents' meeting in Comerío in Puerto Rico, somewhere in the 50s. So get your notes out or what have you. Know that I will not take that long. First of all, I want to actually make a little correction to what Leah just said. The fact is that the district that I represent now, the 33rd district in the Northwest Bronx, has had in its history 3 representatives. The first one, Easy Reese, went to jail. The second one, Gonzalez, is in jail now. And the third one, Pedro Espada, is going to jail. So there's been 4 of us. Now I'm going to Sing Sing. Seriously. Next week, as I am the ranking member of the Crime Victims, Crimes and Correction Committee in the Senate, I am going to be visiting Sing Sing in kind of a fact-finding mission. I'm actually going to do that. And that is the only way that I will ever be visiting a jail, I want to guarantee you. But the reason I'm up here today, and I am really sorry that I could not be here for the entire weekend, is because the type of work that you are doing right now, the type of work that you have been doing in your workshops, the type of work that you're going to be doing from here to tomorrow, is the type of work that eventually gives you the ability and gives the communities that you come from and that you live in the ability to get folks elected who actually want to be accountable to those communities. That's a fact. The work that I've done over the last decade, a little bit more than a decade as a political organizer, has always been about making sure that the people that are in government actually respond to the people that they represent. That's what I always believed. And as I told Leah, and I told my students, because I actually teach college as well, and for a long time I told every single class that I was in that I would never run for anything. And I meant it. Because my goal was ultimately to be an operative, to be someone who got other folks elected. But then came the situation with that dude whose name I keep forgetting. I either call him Captain Knucklehead or Mr. Past Tense. I have other more colorful things that I call him, but you know, we don't know each other that well yet, so I won't use the real colorful terms. But to make a long story short, April 17th of last year, that is when I pulled the trigger. April 17th of last year was the day when everything kind of came together for me, and I was in a position where I saw the people that were running, and although they were good people, I did not think that they had the ability to defeat Pedro Espada. And I believed that it was unacceptable after having hundreds, if not thousands of people working hard to make sure that we would take the majority in the state Senate, and to have the 317,000 people that live in the 33rd district be used as a bully pulpit so that this guy could go up to Albany and hold up the entire state. It was unacceptable for him to remain there. And so I had to make a choice. Now, I don't like the camera. I really don't. I don't like talking to the press. I don't have my picture taken. You can ask everybody. Before I got to do this, there is like, my mom owns the only pictures of me. I swear. All my friends know that you shouldn't have taken pictures of me. And I certainly would have preferred to keep my opinions to myself. I mean, you're having a conversation with a couple of friends and you say something, oh, this elected official is this, or this policy is that. It's a very different thing when you're just sitting around a table, and another one when you're in a position as a policymaker, where the things that you say all of a sudden matter a lot more, because they can actually make policy. I would have preferred for none of that to be something that I did. But I was faced with a decision. And ultimately, it was about what this guy had forgotten. And what he had forgotten was that he worked for the people of the 33rd district in the Bronx. That is what it boiled down to. And so I had to make a decision, and I jumped in. But when I did, it was clear that I could not do this by myself. And it was a lot of people in this room, or people like the people in this room, who made that possible for me. It doesn't matter how well I can speak in a room. It doesn't matter how well I know the issues. It doesn't matter how much I know how to run a campaign. If I don't surround myself as a candidate with people whom I trust and who can actually organize in the communities that I want to represent, there's no way I would have won. If I don't do the work of calling each and every single day to make sure that I can raise the money to pay for the campaign that I needed to have against this guy, because don't believe when people say that anybody could have beaten him. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. I'm saying this because as somebody who has done campaigns for a while, I know that Captain Knucklehead was not someone that was going to roll over. He had $500,000 in the bank. He had a lot of people in his pocket, and a lot of people who believed, hey, this guy can't be beat. Can't really beat this dude. He's just going to do all the dirty stuff he does usually, so he's unbeatable. I had to make sure that I brought together a coalition. And I was very privileged to have the coalition be of a lot of the folks that are in this room, the organizations that you come from, some of the individuals in this room who actually knocked on doors in my district. And I recognize that. I would not be here without your help. And it is what you are learning this weekend that will give you that ability to do it in your neighborhoods. Part of the work that I did when I was working for Obama, I was one of the state directors for Obama in Florida. And the good thing about the work that we did down there is that when we left people there with skills to organize in their own communities. It is that which you are getting today. You have the spirit, you have the heart, but now you're going to have the skills as well, and you're going to have the networks. And it is those things ultimately that are going to change our state, because we have to start at the local level. So I am here, in reality, to applaud you, to thank you for taking the time this weekend to learning all this stuff. Because it is the skills that you acquire this weekend and the skills that you in turn give to folks back home that will make the difference in the long term. Whether it's city council districts, assembly districts, say Senate districts, all of that starts from the people like the people in this room. Now, tomorrow, I may get run over by a bus. I may decide, I don't know, I may decide that I want to go back to Puerto Rico and hang out with my folks for the rest of my life. I decide that I might want to become a monk. I don't know. When I leave, I want to make sure that the people that are back in my district continue to have the ability to have somebody in that position who will continue to represent them. For us, and I have some of my staff here, for us, the work that we do in this office is just a continuation of the work that we did to get elected. We have to make sure that we continue to organize, that we continue to empower, that we let folks know that the main thing that we are doing is working for them. And it is, again, the abilities, the skills that you are learning on a weekend like this, which will give you the ability to do that in your local neighborhoods. And particularly in a time like this, where you have attacks on organized labor and on working people across the country. It is in dining rooms like this, where you spend 6 hours of your day and you almost can't bear to look at the person that's next to you for another freaking hour. But it is in places like this, having the conversations that you've been having and having the conversations that you will have, where that change will start. We are at a point where we can turn this moment into a movement. And it is our obligation to do so. I have some things to do while I'm an elected official. And you have some things to do as you are community organizers and leaders in your blocks. So I will leave you with that. What you learn during this weekend will give you the ability to put people in power who respond to you, who work for you. And the skills that you learn will make sure that you keep them accountable. I'll finish with this one story. I tell my students all the time, if you have a problem and you want an elected official to address it, a couple of different things can happen. You show up by yourself and you tell this elected official, I have this issue, I have this problem, I have this issue. The person across the table says, you know what, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will get on it right now. You leave. Scenario 1, the elected official turns to his or her staff and says, this is a very important issue and we got to get right on it. Scenario 2, you say the same thing. Oh, I have this issue. I need you to help me with it. Thank you so much for your time. You leave. The elected official turns to his or her staff and says, I never want to see that person in here again. Scenario 3, same thing happens. You discuss an issue, You leave. They go, you know what? This is a very important issue, but I got other things that I got to take care of and kind of put it off. Maybe they'll deal with it eventually. If you walk into that office with 100 people, it does not matter who is on the other side of that table. They must pay attention. So never assume that you're going to have somebody that is friendly on the other side of that table. Always make sure that you come from a position of power. And that means organize, organize, organize. Thank you so much for your time.